Hi guys, welcome back to this week's review for um, Bursa stocks. As usual, we will start with the review of the indexes first before we move on to the case studies for next week. Okay, so we will start off with the Nasdaq index. So I think last week was quite bad. If you actually, I mean, from my previous video, I did kind of anticipate a possibility of a head and shoulders forming. So the Nasdaq one is coming quite apparent now. Okay, it's forming something like this. And if it actually breaks down from here, then it's possible for us to see quite a bearish moment for quite some time. But I recently encountered a chart on S&P's seasonality. And usually end of September until early October is quite bearish lah. Okay, usually maybe because of the earnings report season, I'm not so sure. But during this time it's quite bearish. Okay, if you look at here, it has had like three big candle down days. Okay, and then here there's kind of like a shooting star because on Friday it actually pushed up, but then closed quite near the opening price. Okay, so this is like a shooting star candle. So you just need to be cautious to see where the index is going to hit next. But looking at this, it doesn't look that good lah. Okay, and it's already kind of touching the trend line that started from early this year. Okay. So next we go over to the Dow Jones. Dow Jones, I think is quite obvious. It's a bit worse in my opinion. It has already kind of broken the previous low. Okay, and similar, it's also kind of, if you take a trend line going up, you will see it's more of something like a head and shoulders like this. Okay, whereby this is the neckline level lah. Okay, so for Dow Jones index, you also have to be careful because it seems like it's forming lower high and lower low already lah, which is the basic characteristics of a uptrend and a downtrend. Okay, and lastly for S&P 500, you can see from this line, let's just make a straight line. Okay, you can see it has already broken this low and it has already broken the previous low as well. Okay, so it's already forming lower high and lower lows. Okay, same to the other charts. This is also something like head and shoulders forming over here. Okay, so it's not looking good lah for the US sector. Okay, and Russell 2000 is quite textbook lah, this one. Okay, you can see even the neckline is quite near to each other. Okay, the shoulder, the head and the shoulder, and then started coming down. Okay, Russell 2000 is similar to our small cap index lah. Okay, so that's for the US sector. Let's just run through oil for a moment. Oil is actually pretty bullish. Okay, this is a shooting star candle and you can see it reversing a bit, but it's expected lah. Okay, because the rally from here until here, this entire rally has been quite one-sided. Okay, it has gone up 17% in about 2 to 3 weeks time. Okay, so it's quite ripe for a pullback lah. Okay, analysts say that it will reach 100, which will be about here lah. Okay, I'm not so sure whether it can reach 100 or not, but it is bullish lah. Okay, for those of you who are betting on oil prices, it is going up lah. Okay, so next we go over to the Malaysian index. As usual, the KLCI index got nothing much to look at. Okay, it's quite stagnant. You look at it from a further scale also, it's always like, you know, in zones lah where it trades. Okay, you can see, you know, like here one, okay, and then here again one zone, and then here again. So nothing so interesting on the KLCI index lah. Okay, but on the small cap index is quite interesting. There are people saying that there may be flow funds from US side cashing out and joining and entering the Malaysian sector, which I personally think is quite possible, because if you look at the small cap index, which usually they say is for smaller cap index which are growing, okay, it's actually quite bullish. Okay, if you look at the chart, okay, it kind of found bottom over here, first lower high, another lower high, another lower high, another lower high, and it's still going higher. Okay, so you can see that when it pulled back over here, this pullback was quite intense. I think during this period the market was quite bearish, okay, because small cap is what most of the people will prefer buying because you want capital gains. Okay, so it actually came shut down here quite badly. Okay, but the good thing was it did not break support lah. Okay, so you see here, this was the previous low, this was the support for it, and then this one it did not break lah. Okay, it kind of tested the previous resistance, whether it can turn support or not, and in my opinion, I think it did turn into a support. So it's kind of like a recovery V over here, and if you see over here, it's already formed a new high compared to this. Okay, so there is a possibility that you will go higher a bit first, then come and test again, and then go higher. Okay, or maybe you will go and test this level lah, this 16316 level. Okay, you will go higher first, then you will come and test here before attempting to go higher again. Okay, so for me, I feel it's quite bullish lah. Okay, Hong Kong sector. Sorry, the Hang Seng Index. This is actually a very bullish candle, bullish engulfing candle. But I think the downtrend line is quite intact lah. Okay, it actually attempted to break, but then it couldn't. Based on the chart wise, I think it's still downtrend. It looks more like a technical rebound to me because of multiple days coming down. We just need to observe and see whether this support actually holds or not, which is 17534 lah. Okay, and if it doesn't hold, then you will expect it to actually go lower lah. Okay, if you look at it from a further view, it is still actually in a downtrend. Okay, it is this is the big downtrend levels, and if you zoom in to the high from March 21, this is the downtrend line. It is still not broken the downtrend line. So even if it, let's say it does rebound, it is actually more of something like this, right? It will look quite bullish lah if you don't zoom out the chart, but we just call it a bullish trend in a major bearish downtrend lah. Okay, so that's maybe what's happening to the Hang Seng Index, because stock prices cannot go in one way. Okay, it's always in waves lah. Okay, which is I think what's happening to the Hang Seng Index as well. Okay. So next will be China Index. It's quite similar to Hang Seng, but sometimes it's not following lah. Okay, I also think that it's still in a downtrend. Okay, judging by the prices, similar. It's a bullish engulfing candle, which took place on Friday. Okay, it actually opened at yesterday's low and then actually closed quite strong lah. Okay, volume seems pretty healthy as well. But we wait to see whether it's just a small technical rebound or is it really bullish lah. Okay, this one also seems like got some kind of head and shoulders over here. Okay, you can see like this one shoulder, head, and another shoulder lah. Okay, so we wait and see the index. Okay, and the last one will be Japan's index. Japan's index is one of the index which is actually quite strong. It broke new highs over here and then now put back over here. So currently doesn't seem to be able to break above the previous high, which is something to be wary of lah. Okay, so if we are looking at the Japan index, as long as it doesn't break the previous high, it is quite dangerous lah. Okay, and on this side is already starting to form lower lows. Okay, on this side is forming lower highs. Okay, but if you actually look at it, one, then this one lower, and then this one higher, so it kind of makes traders confused lah. Okay, you just need to monitor the index and see whether it will finally decide to go lower, something like this, and go higher, or it will actually just go something like this. Okay, so that will be all for the index reviews. Next we will go over to the case studies for next week lah. Okay, if let's say you are not keen to watch the case studies, do watch the index lah, because the index will show you quite a lot. Okay, so as usual, I will start with the first 10 stocks that look strong to me. Okay, so that will be the first 10 case studies, and then followed by the rest lah. Okay, so first stock for case study will be IGM, construction counter. I think construction and property has been quite bullish in the past few weeks. I am not sure how long the music will continue, but we just look at it as a case study lah. Okay, so if you see here, it has actually formed higher high and higher lows, okay, all along the way, and then here it broke out from the resistance of 1.86. So remember previously I mentioned before, if let's say stock is able to break above the resistance, then there is a high tendency that you will retest that resistance and turn it into a support. Okay, so that is what we call RTS lah. Okay, if let's say you're not so sure what's happening, I pinned the 4 core videos that you need to watch to understand better in my Telegram channel. Okay, so so you see over here, it actually broke 1.86, and on Friday it actually retested back 1.86 to see its support. Okay, and retest rebounded. So you know lah that the support over there is actually strong. Okay, so there's a high chance that this 1.86 will now become a new support. Okay, it can turn into a new support, of course provided it doesn't break lah. Okay, and then there's a possibility it can go higher. Okay, so this 1.92 was already challenged the other day. Okay, here. Okay, this 1.92 is actually already above the 52-week high. Already above 52-week high. But we are looking at April 2022. It was the April 2022 high lah. Okay, so if let's say it's able to break from 1.92, the next resistance that you may be looking at may be somewhere about here lah, 2.06. Okay. So that's for IJM. Next we'll go over to Dayang. I will jump a bit here because I want to cover sectors lah. Okay, so Dayang oil and gas company, similar to the other 2 counters which I'm going to cover, which is UZMA and ARMADA lah. Okay, their charts look nicer. Brent oil price is literally going up, like I mentioned in just now's introduction. For indexes, I include UK oil as well. I think that Malaysia will actually benefit lah, okay, when oil prices increase, because we are one of the exporters as well. When oil prices go up, all companies are directly benefit from the price increase. Okay, so if you're looking at the trend, okay, if we see here, it's like from 22nd of August it has been going higher. We check UK oil and see. Quite same lah. Okay, 22nd August it was here. Okay, and then started going up. Okay, so it is quite in tandem lah. Okay, so as for Dayang, your support will be here. Okay, kind of retested the gap lah. Okay, so your support will be 1.87 and your resistance will definitely be here lah. Okay, which is 1.98. Okay, generally still bullish, but you need to be a bit careful with this candle over here, because it was very high volume and then it formed a very long wick. Okay, that means there is heavy resistance over here lah. There are a lot of sellers over here. Okay, so we will jump over to to UZMA and ARMADA. Okay, UZMA generally is a lighter stock. Okay, what I mean by lighter is the amount of shares flow is low lah. Okay, Dayang shares flow is 576 million. Whereas UZMA's one is only 386 million. So it's easier to push this stock up and it's also easier to come down. Basically, it's more volatile lah. Okay. Whereas for ARMADA is very heavy lah. It's about 3.2 billion. Okay. There are a lot of shares float. So to push the price up is not so easy. Okay. So looking at UZMA, I believe the previous resistance is 0.84. Okay. Tested a few times. This one attempted to break out but couldn't. Then pull back for 2 days on low volume, which is very healthy. Okay, and then on Friday broke out with high volume lah. Okay, so currently is testing the resistance. The resistance was previously at 0.84. Currently, if you ask me, I will put the entire range of 0.84 to 0.85 lah. Okay, and your support, new support will be here 0.8. Okay, this will be your new support. Your resistance, next one will be, actually I'm just using a 2021 March high, which is 0.895. But I don't think there will be people still holding it from that time lah. Okay, so it's just a point for consideration. Okay, then next for ARMADA, same. I think the resistance is about here, 0.565, and the support is quite near lah, 0.55. Okay, but as you can see, the stock price for ARMADA doesn't move that much in a day. Okay, because it's very heavy, so you won't see like you won't see like Dayang, you know, suddenly running high so much, or you won't see like UZMA, you know, in one day you have like 5 cent up, okay. Whereas ARMADA you see is like 0.015, okay. So because it's heavy lah, okay, but of course it comes at a cheaper price, okay. So as for ARMADA, I would say I think the support is at 0.55. Okay, this one is nice in the sense that the previous resistance here 0.55 has now turned into a support, so it's quite near lah, okay. Consider it's very good for this previous resistance to turn into a support, okay. So we can just amend this one, we put it up over here, okay, and we amend this to 0.55, okay. And your resistance, basically I will just remove this lah, okay. So your next resistance will be when the stock attempts to close the previous gap, which is 0.62 lah, okay. Most likely you will attempt to close the gap, and then we will see what's the direction lah, okay. Because usually if let's say a stock happens something like this, there is, let's say, a gap over here lah, okay, and then it was something like this, then it gapped down, so it came out like this. Now when it slowly comes back up until here, when it hits, it usually comes down first, okay. If let's say it's in a very bearish trend, it will tend to come down, okay. And the same goes for if it's a bullish trend. Okay, if it's a bullish trend, you go up like this, and then it's something like this, it will gap up, and then it will come back down. It will try to close this gap before going back higher, okay. That's just how the market works lah, okay. Okay, so next one is this Ancomny. Okay, there was a huge volume coming in on Friday. You can see over here 4 million plus. Usual days volume is about 1 to 2 million lah, okay, or less than that. Chart looks very nice, okay. We can actually see support is at about 1.07 and the previous resistance is about 1.12 lah, okay. Once broken, your next resistance will be about here, which is 1.14, and then you have another resistance here and you have another resistance here, okay. Looking at the volume coming in, it looks quite strong lah, the breakout, okay. So there are possibilities for it to continue going higher, okay. Just note this support at 1.07, okay. This one is actually a previous resistance, so like I mentioned, there's a possibility it will like this, then it will break out, then it will retest back this level, okay. That's usually what happens lah, okay. So this one I will just put the resistance at 1.12 first, and the other resistance is as here lah, okay. 1.4, 1.16, 1.20, okay. Then next is Redtone. So Redtone is quite nice in the sense that it formed a very nice solid base before it broke out, and the breakout also happens to be breakout from the downtrend line, okay. So if you actually have a look at the downtrend line over here, it started from here over here, okay, June this year, and then it continued going down, and it attempted many times lah, okay. 1, 2, 3 times it attempted but failed, okay. We can actually pull the downtrend line to somewhere like this, okay. Attempted about 2 to 3 times and failed lah, okay. This one I think never even reached lah, okay. So we'll just say 2 times lah, okay. So it attempted 2 times and failed, but then this time it actually successfully managed to break out. But the even better thing is when it break out, it actually break out from this small cup first, which is a consolidation. It did small consolidation over here, and immediately broke out above the downtrend line, okay, which is actually strong lah, okay. Another thing for you to note is the pullback volume throughout has been very low, okay. It has been very low. On this day it's actually almost 53k only, okay. And on average the stock trades about 500k to 1 million stocks lah, in value, sorry, okay. So you can see that the entire round over here is low, and even if let's say you don't believe this small rally over here lah, okay, rally up to here about 10%, okay. Take note that during this breakout over here, this attempt to break out from this line, this resistance of 0.69, it had a high volume, okay. Subsequent days were followed by very thin volume, okay. Even this day thin volume, and then the next day it actually gapped up, didn't really close the gap lah, okay, because close here, didn't really close the gap, just tested back 0.69, and went higher with very high volume. So it's considered actually very good lah. Okay, so this is a very good case study to see. When you break out the time, they form a small pullback, small cup before they actually break out. Okay, which is good lah. You will know where is your support and resistance. Okay, so you will need to see whether this resistance will turn support or not. Okay, at 0.69. Okay, and if it doesn't, okay, if let's say because there are sometimes breakouts fail, then your support will be somewhere here lah, 0.675. Okay, this will be your support, and of course your resistance will be here. Okay, 0.74, strong one. Okay, you will need quite a momentum lah to break out from this resistance. Okay, so Hpphb holdings, I will cover another stock with this Hpphb, which is DSS. Basically it's a packaging company. Okay, I think packaging counters are doing quite well at the moment. Hpphb, for me, I feel the chart is similar to Redtone like that lah. Okay, because if you realize I prefer charts that have consolidation, pullback first, then they like to test back the resistance, whether turn support or not. Okay, because those are strength lah. Okay, if your previous resistance can turn into support, means there is demand. Okay, so I like to study this kind of charts. Okay, so we come over to Hpphb. You can see that the previous resistance is definitely here lah, 0.425. Okay, I think this one wrong already. Okay, so previous resistance is just 0.425. Okay, you can see attempted to break out, couldn't. So this is a very nice cup and handle formation lah. Okay, you can see over here, this is one cup, and then this is the handle lah, and then it broke out, managed to break out already. After managed to break out, is retesting 0.425. Okay, as the previous resistance. You will see whether it turned into support or not. So the good thing about here is actually when you look at it, you will see that this is a very high volume. That means there was very high strength over here. After breakout, it tested here all with lower volume. Okay, even on Friday, Thursday and Friday, it tested here both with low volume. Okay, which means there is actually not much seller lah. Okay, just remember that every time after a breakout, after a breakout, okay, the pullback must be of low volume. Okay, it will indicate to you that there is not much people actually selling. Okay, there is demand for the stock. Okay, so if you want further details on this, there will be another session lah. Okay, but I don't think I can explain it over here. Okay, so Hpphb, the support will be at 0.425. Okay, and if you ask me, I think the only resistance will be about here, 0.45. Okay, that also December 2022 one. Not necessarily people will still hold. Okay, we just put resistance 0.45, and if it's able to break from 0.45, actually kind of sky is the limit lah. Okay, but if you really want to have, like, you know, you must have something, it will be about here lah, 0.495 to 0.5. Okay, so it will depend whether the packaging industry's tune is in or not lah. Okay, so we jump over to DSS. Let me just pull them up so that I remember what has been done. Okay, so DSS, I think I covered before. Also quite steady lah, the stock. Okay, you see it came down. I think this one no trend lah at that time. Okay, came back down over here, then slowly has been going up. This is like a very nice uptrend lah. Okay, it's actually a very nice uptrend. Okay, then you can see over here, first resistance. Okay, then came back down, pull back, go form higher lows, and then re-challenge back the resistance. When you break out the time, came with high volume. Okay, so with high volume, the stock has actually maintained above the previous higher low, which is here, 0.395. It came to about 0.405. Okay, and then rebounded. So that will be your new support, which is where I indicated over here. Okay, so now it's actually trying to challenge where 0.455, which is the previous resistance. Okay, over here. Okay, so you can see the pattern is something like this one, a bit kacau. The pattern is something like this. You form like this, and then cannot, so you form again. So I can see, like, you know, it's going to form a cup and handle lah. Okay, from this pattern, and the handle's low may be 0.43. It may be, I'm not so sure. because I see it has tested this place for about 4 times. Okay, and every test is of even lower volume. Okay, it has been lower. So if we back test and see what happens when you continuously have lower volume, will be something like this lah. Okay, high volume, then lower, then one high volume come, lower again, then high volume again, lower again. Okay, usually pullbacks have to be accompanied with lower lah. Okay, or example this one. Okay, high volume breakout, then all consecutive days lower until the breakout day, you know, a high day, then is higher lah. Okay, so that's for DSS. Okay, if let's say it succeeds in breaking out from this level of 0.455 to 0.46, it's quite far before you can see a resistance. Should be about 0.56. Okay, next, Sptoto. I think this one has been in my watch list quite long. I think it came in same time with IT Max, and if you realize, IT Max has broken out quite fierce lah. Okay, from the resistance of 1.46, it actually jumped to about 1.76, which is about 20% in 1 week, in 5 days lah. Okay, too fierce I don't think is very good for a stock. I think they have to have some pullbacks. Okay, which we have to wait and see lah. Okay, whether it pulls back or not. I mean, there are stocks that go up for an entire year. Okay, for example, Genitech last time. Okay, like here, you know, it's like literally forever, just continue. Okay, and if anyone followed here, it'll be like what, 1000% gain. It's quite insane. Okay, or another one will be like Hextech. Okay, like from 5 ringgit 600 over %. So it's possible lah, it's not to say not possible, but stocks don't move in a straight line lah. Okay, just bear that in mind. So for Sptoto, what's interesting is the previous support is at about 1.56, and it actually managed to break out over here, then squat again. Okay, I call it squats lah. Okay, so break out from here, then squat again, then break out again, squat again, break out again, squat again. Okay, so it's quite obvious to see that there is support at about 1.55, while the resistance currently is at about 1.58 lah. Okay, so we just change this resistance to about 1.58. I think put here better. Okay, while this support is at 1.55 lah. Just use the old one there. Okay, the support will be about here. Okay, so okay, that will be the support and this will be the resistance lah. Okay, so Sptoto for me, I think it hasn't really broken out. Okay, it's just like a small attempt. I don't think it has really broken out yet, but I can see the volume is coming in and the pullbacks have been on quite low volume lah. Okay, which is a good sign. Okay, so next, Pharma Niaga. Okay, so for Pharma Niaga, if you look at the chart, this was like a low. Okay, then it challenged multiple times, couldn't break out from here, then it has gone higher lah. Okay, so currently I believe this may be the higher low. Okay, 0.43 is basically forming higher lows along the way. Okay, from here like this. Okay, that's why you see higher high and higher low lah. Okay, so I believe that this is the new low. Okay, this is the new higher low, 0.43. so you can see these are like pullback days lah. Okay, it's going on lower volume, and then on Friday the volume is low but the candle is a bit big lah. Okay, so we'll wait to see what happens next week, but the chart actually looks quite interesting lah. Okay, from the gap down, and it's slowly climbing higher from here. Okay, from what, 22 cents. Anyone who bought here will basically already double their money lah. Okay, so then here attempted to close the gap. Okay, close the gap, already come back down, you know, and then it goes back higher. So like I mentioned earlier, if some stocks they close the gap and then they continue going down, this one is close the gap and it challenged back up, so it's already above the gap area. okay, which is a very good thing lah. Okay, so Pharma is a stock for me to watch next week. Okay, quite an interesting case study lah. Okay, and next is Azrb. It's quite obvious lah. This triangle is quite obvious. It has been challenging it multiple times. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times, and it's forming lower highs along the way with higher lows along the way. Okay, you have to wait and see whether the stock decides to do something like this, okay, or you can just decide to do something like this. Okay, so patience is key lah here. Okay, but the resistance remains quite similar. Okay, 0.265 is this resistance. Because it has formed a new one here, the resistance can be at 0.26. Okay, while the support is at 0.225. Okay, this one quite obvious lah. Okay, you can see there is some support at 0.24, but it has only been kind of tested once lah. Okay, so we have to wait and see lah. Okay, next is CWG. CWG had a very high volume on Friday. If you have a look over here, very high volume, but it kind of failed to break out lah. Okay, the high volume was at about 9:30, and then subsequently it was quite dry. Okay, this is definitely the resistance point, 0.37. So it kind of like broke out and couldn't continue higher lah. Okay, there's a lot of sellers over here. We just mark over here. Okay, so this is basically November 22's high. It hasn't reached a 52-week high lah. Okay, 52-week high will be like something about above 0.39. Okay, nevertheless, this base over here is quite solid lah. Okay, you can see basically there's not much of volume, but generally the stock don't have much volume one lah. Okay, you can see the basing over here is also quite low volume. Okay, so in my opinion, I think 0.37 is a pretty strong resistance, and if able to break out from this level, it's going to be quite strong lah. Okay, because you can see the number of cups that it has formed. This is the first one, then big one like this, fail, try again, try again, try again, try again. Okay, and finally attempted to break out here. Okay, so there is some form of momentum already lah in this stock. Okay, we will wait to see how far it can run for CWG. Okay, if you are talking about resistance, then obviously the resistance will be somewhere here lah, 0.39. Okay, so we wait and see lah. It's going to be quite an interesting case study to have lah. So this resistance 0.37 first, then we have another one at 0.39. Okay, and then you have this at 0.345 lah. Okay, next Smrt. I heard many assume this stock as quite a going stock. Okay, I myself, I'm not so sure about the fundamentals, but the chart looks quite good now. Okay, I think the other day I did mention this is like a bullish engulfing candle, which is very nice. Okay, currently I don't think the support is here anymore. The support looks to be somewhere here, 0.725. Okay, and the resistance should be about 0.795 still. I think it's quite accurate, because for 2 days it has attempted to break higher and failed. Okay, so if it continues failing, but on Friday the volume is pretty low lah, that means actually there's not much people selling it. Okay, so I mean there's not much people buying and there's not much people selling lah. Okay, so if let's say this continues, then there's likelihood for a small pullback before attempting to go higher and to break this downtrend line lah. Okay, so we'll wait to see. The quarter report is quite fast still. It's about, I think, about November. I don't think it's so soon. Okay, it may form another support at the previous resistance. That means maybe about 0.755. Okay, before attempting to go higher lah. It may, looking at the pullback over here, high volume, cannot break out, long wick above. Okay, it may lah to make it stronger. Okay, so that's about the 10 most interesting stocks I have. Okay, next will be JHM. Okay, very nice triangle over here, just like Azrb, forming lower highs and higher lows. Okay, So similar to what I showed in Azrb, there is also a line of resistance over here. No, not the Azrb. I think it's Redtone. Okay, similar to Redtone, yes. Okay, you see, over here there is a very strong resistance line. Okay, there's a very strong resistance line over here, and then there is a downtrend line over here. Okay, so you may attempt for some time, you may pull back, consolidate, and then you will attempt to break out from this downtrend line. Okay, so at the moment this is JHM's resistance, this level 0.82 to 0.83. let's just draw a box over here. Okay, well, as you can see, the support is quite clear at 0.78 lah. Okay, let's just move this line up. Otherwise, the other support would be actually 0.765, which is actually a very solid one lah. Okay, never mind, we just put both lah. Okay, so JHM is we wait to see lah. Huh? Okay, next is RGB. This stock actually posted quarterly report the other day. Actually, for me, I think the quarter report is able to justify the price rally lah. Okay, for me, I think the quarter report was good. I think it kind of like the fundamentals is supporting what is happening to the price. But I think then came news about something about SPRM investigation into maybe funds going out and stuff like that. So it kind of dragged the stock down very badly lah. Okay. So we were expecting the stock maybe to come to about 0.245 or 0.25. Okay, because that was like the previous breakout level, but it stopped at 0.255. Okay, so at the moment, I think the support is quite strong at about 0.27 to 0.275, and I believe there is a new support over here at about 0.3. Okay, you can see it's tested a few times and it has closed above. So your new support will be at about 0.3, and your resistance will be at 0.32 lah. Okay. Over here. Okay, so we have to wait and see lah. Okay, where it decides to go. In terms of volume, I think on breakout days, on days that it attempts to break out, I think it's quite good, the volume. On days that it's on pullback, the volume is pretty low. So for me, technically, I feel it's quite healthy lah. Okay, that's for RGB. Next is FSBM. Wait FSBM, if I'm not wrong, was a PN17 counter. Okay, I think the news is not here. I think they have submitted some regularization plan for Bursa, and Bursa has kind of approved it lah. Okay, but not here. I think it was somewhere earlier. I think I can't really remember. Okay, or maybe here lah, August. I'm not so sure. But they have submitted, and Bursa has agreed lah. Okay, so I think the volume has started coming in about here. You can see the volume here, up volume quite good, then pull back, very nice, then that's kind of like a breakout candle over here lah. Okay, so generally I think the stock's movement is quite healthy. After breakout, then it has attempted to go higher. The pullback is of lower volume than the breakout day, and I think it's attempting to break out 0.26 lah. Okay, so I will put the support as 0.2. Sorry, the resistance as 0.26, while the support will be at 0.235 lah. Okay, but this is a penny stock. Okay, so few bits is quite painful one. Okay, that's the problem with penny stocks lah. Okay, the support at 0.235 is good in the sense that was the previous resistance. Okay, you see it was like resistance here, you know, then cannot break out, and then when this big candle came, it actually took off 0.235 and continue going higher up to 0.26. Okay, I feel it's quite good lah. Okay, next, me. I think there are very few tech counters lah. Generally, I don't think tech counters are doing so well in Malaysia. We can have a look at a few later if got time. Okay, so for me, the candles has been quite good. Okay, you can see this is a candle to break out from the resistance of 1.71. Okay, and then subsequently it pulled back, so there were a few days of washing out, and then subsequently on Friday it broke out again. Okay, so your new resistance will no longer be 1.71. Your support will be here, 1.66. Okay, and your resistance will be, I think the resistance will be higher, but the immediate resistance will be here lah, 1.78. That's definitely, but I think the true resistance will be somewhere here. Okay, let's just use this, 1.83. I think it will be somewhere about 1.82 to 1.85. Okay, but me has quite a huge stairs to climb before it reaches its previous high during COVID lah. Quite a lot lah. Okay, the stock has been beaten down quite badly. Okay, so I will just put the resistance somewhere here. Actually, this area is very congested lah. You can see there's a lot of wicks. Okay, it's like bull and bear fighting a lot, so need to be a bit cautious about this zone lah. Okay, but let's just look at the current one. I think the resistance will be about, should be about here lah, 1.83. Okay, okay, this is the other tech counter, TTVHB. The resistance is clearly at 1.31 while the support is at 1.18. We have to see what the support does. Okay, the stock has tested the support for about six times in a row now. Okay, in a short time frame. Okay, the scary thing is when you keep testing the support in a very short time frame, there is the likelihood that the support will break. Okay, so we have to wait and see. The reason why I put it into a case study is because it has touched so many times in a short period of time, accompanied with quite low volume lah. Okay, so there is a chance that it's like collection lah. Okay, at the base of the support. But if it manages to break out, you know, like if let's say it forms like this, a rounding bottom, then the 1.18 support is considered very strong lah, because it has been tested so many times. Okay, it means there is a huge demand at 1.18. Okay, so we will have to wait and see. Okay, so for now support remains at 1.18 and the resistance is at 1.31. Okay, next CCK. CCK is more to if I'm not wrong, CCK is like a mart. Okay, it's like a mart that sells fresh food, fresh supplies. Okay, and I think CCK last I remember is mainly over in East Malaysia side. Okay, but chart wise I think it's quite good. Okay, there was clear resistance over here at 0.795, already managed to break out from it. But to come back to COVID times may need some time lah. Okay, but as of now at the moment, I think the chart is quite bullish. Pullback days have been coupled with low volume, while breakout days has been coupled with quite high volume lah. Okay, I think it may be also affected with the huge demand of sugar and rice in the market now. Okay, it may be able to push the stock price up lah. I'm not so sure. This is just a news lah. Okay, there is still clear resistance over here, 0.84 to 0.86, and the stock will need to break out from here lah to continue. Okay, but on the support side, I think there's a new support within 0.805 to 0.81 lah. Looks quite solid over here. Okay, let's just shift this up. and smaller. Okay, it looks like the support is quite solid lah. Okay, now capital A somehow is again not in tandem with AAX. AAX actually ran up quite a lot. This one was literally sell on news lah, okay, because the stock already went up so much, AX. And then you can see here from this range to this range, AX is like going up. Okay, it's from 30th of August. Whereas for capital A, 30th of August is going down. Okay, not really in tandem lah, huh? But you can see that there's a new support at 0.865. And I believe the latest support will be at 0.99. Okay, and your resistance is quite clear lah, at 1.04 to 1.07. It's not a new resistance, it's an old resistance that this area I think could not break. Okay, it broke momentarily and then came back down, because you see there's a lot of wick over here, came over here again, there's wick. Okay, so this is your support and resistance zone for capital A lah. Okay, then next will be PUNCAK. PUNCAK has pulled back for quite long lah, since the breakout over here 4th September until about now 21st September, about 3 weeks I think, then only finally break out lah. Okay, so at the moment the support is still here lah, okay, at about 0.31. I believe it will form another higher support first before it attempts to go higher. Okay, so there is a high possibility it will take 0.355 as its support. Okay, just like because previously keep, you know, there's always a resistance over here, then there may be a huge demand over there later lah. Okay, so it will be something like this, maybe a breakout, then it will test back here, then only go up. Okay, that's what usually happens in stock lah. Okay, so if you want to look at what is the next resistance, it will be 0.38 before it just challenges the current all-time 52-week high, which is about 0.39 lah. Okay, so R 0.39, another R 0.38. Okay, and 0.355 may be your resistance turn support, we don't know yet. Okay, that's why it's a case study. Okay, next is DELEUM. This stock also quite fierce but there's a short pullback around here. So like I mentioned, I like to find stocks which have a short pullback on low volume, and it tests back the previous resistance as a support. Okay, so you can see here DELEUM actually jumped up over here. Okay, it actually ran up over here. Okay, and then it came down to do a check whether it's a resistance turn support or not. So currently it is 1.03. So your new support here will be 1.03. And honestly, there's not really much resistance lah for DELEUM at the moment. Okay, because it's quite strong lah. Okay, it has broken quite a lot. So honestly, I don't really see that there's much resistance over here. But if, as usual, if you insist you want to have a point, 1.11 already broken, it may come back down to retest. Then your next resistance will be somewhere here lah. Okay, 1.28. I think 1.28 to about this zone also resistance 1.34. Okay, so technically DELEUM is very strong lah. Okay, and the previous resistance is at 1.09. It may just come back and retest this area first. Okay, 1.09. Okay. Okay, MUHIBAH. This is actually quite a long time consolidation. I think I covered this before in my previous week case studies. You can see this is the shoulder, this is the head, and then this is the shoulder lah. Okay, so it's obviously at about 0.78 the resistance you can see. Okay, both shoulders have the same resistance okay, only the head it kind of like penetrated a bit, then after that came back down lah. Okay, so if you look at MUHIBAH, there's a possibility of it forming a inverse head and shoulders. Okay, similar to my prediction on the US index lah. Okay, so it has to challenge back 0.78 over here, but the support is quite far lah, it's like 0.705. Okay, so usually if let's say it takes a break before before a breakout. So you will come up to something like this, retest, fail, then after that do a smaller one before going higher lah. Okay, usually MUHIBAH is quite interesting. I don't think it's something that a lot of people look at. I also noticed that MUHIBAH engineering is it's also quite similar to Azrb, which is both engineering and construction. I'm not so sure what they specialize in, okay, but they seem to be both from the same sector, looking at what TradingView has put as their sector lah. Okay, so can have a look and see. Maybe it will be the next trend. Okay, because previously trend and current one still is like property construction, then previously got tech counters, then at one point it was healthcare, and then I think a few weeks ago it was EMS, and then EMS kind of resumed. So it's kind of like a sector rotational play lah. Okay, can look at it, can keep it as a case study lah. Okay. Okay, for SKBSHUT, this is another stock which has run up quite aggressively without a real pullback. Okay, which is quite dangerous. When you have stocks that run up so much and there is no pullback, it's quite difficult for it to have a support when it comes down. Okay, so it's quite dangerous, this kind of stocks. But we just look at it generally lah. Okay, this was 0.705 was like a long time ago resistance. Sorry, I think it's about 0.72 lah. Okay, I mentioned 0.72. So 0.72 was the previous resistance long ago. It already broke out and continued going higher. Okay, so this is like a congestion area for me, 0.72 to 0.76. Okay, currently SKBSHUT closed at about 0.765, but it closed with quite a long wick lah. Okay, the wick is longer than the body. Okay, you can measure it. It's like 0.035. Well, this is like 0.025. It's slightly longer lah. For it to become a valid shooting star, the longer the wick, the more valid it is lah. Okay, so the all-time high is about 86.5. Yeah. Okay, that's the all-time high. If it manages to break the all-time high, there's a possible chance that the stock is going to become very, very bullish lah. Okay. But we can only monitor lah. Okay, because it has gone up too fast. You can see that the pullback days company with low volume is only 1 to 2 days or maximum 3 lah. Okay, it's like you can have a look like here. Okay, 1, 2, 3 days you need a pullback and it's on lower volume. That's all. Okay, then it continue going higher. Okay, this one the pullback is only 1 day. It's even worse. Or this two lah. Okay, so there isn't really an actual pullback that has taken place over here. Okay, compared to all the other stocks that I have reviewed and put inside my case study, you can see most of them will have a pullback. But I've included this because it's very fierce lah. I want to see, you know, how it turns out later. Okay, so SKBSHUT is a stock we watch. There's a possibility it will pull back also about here. Okay, it may just pull back. It may just do a fast pullback. Okay, it's very fast. Okay, but the fearful one is if let's say you FOMO, you follow emotion, you FOMO and you rush in, then sayonara lah. Okay. So it's going to be an interesting case study like this one. Okay, it can be something like Genitech or Hextech, continue running up, or it can be just a momentary kind of push from here then come back down, because if you see from the low, it's already about 100%. Okay. So next, BJFOOD. I covered this before also. Like this, it's not like SKB. Okay, it's quite interesting. The pullback is slowly pull back, form carbs over here, and then only breakout lah. So volume came in on Friday for a valid breakout, quite strong breakout. Managed to break out 0.705, which is always never managed to break one lah. Okay, so managed to break out from 0.705. It may come back to retest back 0.705 to see whether it forms into a support or not. Like I always mention, resistance turns support lah. Okay, so as of now, I think the next resistance for this stock will be 0.81, because that will be where the gap is closed. Okay, So this will be the resistance 0.81. Okay, and your support most likely will be at 0.705 lah. This one is only validated after the stock retest this level lah, because it was the previous resistance. Okay, so this one all can remove. Okay, a stock to watch also lah. Okay, EG. I've just included this stock because I think it's quite bullish. But as of now, I don't think it has formed a higher low, no higher high lah. Okay, you see that it's coming down over here. It's obviously resisted by this downtrend line. Okay, and then it broke out. It broke out from this downtrend line. Okay, and then it went higher, but it failed to go higher than 1.57 lah, which was the previous high. Okay, previous over here. So it has then pulled back. Okay, volume has been pretty low compared to the breakout day. It has been pretty low, but we need to see whether this 1.45 is going to become a new support zone or not. Okay, we have to see whether it becomes a new support. If it does, then it means you have formed a higher low. Okay, you have formed a higher low. If it doesn't, that means there's still leg for the stock to go lower lah. Okay, so we have to wait and see. Okay, now after this, EG is actually my last stock lah. Okay, no, I think no, second last stock. Okay, after EG I will cover VS, and then the rest is actually a general coverage of the entire sector lah. Okay, so VS, quite a nice pullback, and then I think volume has been kind of coming in, but the resistance remains at 1.03. Doesn't really seem to be able to break out from 1.03 lah. Okay, the support quite obvious. This is a washout candle, 0.965. Okay, the support is quite obvious as about 0.98 lah, or 0.975, this zone. Okay, and then it's attempting to create a support at about 1. Okay, so your range of support is about 1 to, and your resistance is about 1.03 lah. Okay, this one no longer valid day. It's also no longer valid day. Resistance is clearly at 1.03, and most likely your support will be at about 0.995, your support. Okay, so VS quite interesting lah. Okay, VS I will cover together with SK Press and also ARMADA. Okay, what I want to highlight is previously all these three stocks were really in tandem. Okay, you look at this 1st September. Is like this. Okay, sorry. Previously, SK Press and VS were really in tandem. Only at times moved earlier. Okay, I think in my previous video, I think last week, I did mention that for EMS counters, at times is better. Okay, chart wise, but fundamental wise, I'm not so sure. Okay, chart wise, at times is stronger. Okay, quite proven lah this week. Okay, for VS, it looks like it's quite right to attempt to break out again. Whereas for SK Price, it doesn't look like it's very right. It looks very near to its previous support. Okay, which is 1.0. Okay, sorry, 0.995, and then here is 1.0. Okay, so it's starting to not be in tandem lah. Okay, so VS and at times look to be more bullish. Okay, at times you need to know the share sway is only 300 million, while VS is 2.4 billion and SK Price is 1.12 billion. Okay, so it's definitely easier to move at times compared to VS. Okay, but VS has quite a strong support lah. That means, looking at the chart, right, the VS has a pretty established base lah. Okay, which you can see is, it's attempting to break up many times. Okay, so EMS counter is a counter to watch whether it's in play or not lah. Okay, now last one will be gloves. Glove sector has been quite bullish and bearish over the past few days. Okay, we just look at it as a whole lah. We delete everything first. If you look at it like this, I think the trend line is quite obvious lah. This one broke the low a bit. For Supermax, I think it's quite obvious also. Kind of broke multiple times lah. Okay, for harta, okay, sorry, I'm taking 29 September. Yeah. So gloves are not really in tandem lah. If we look at the chart now, okay. So if you look at here, like cannot. So if we take here one, it looks a bit like this lah. And lastly is Kosan. I mentioned before, among all, I think Kosan is the most stable one. But I think it's the one that Malaysian traders most don't look at lah, because it doesn't move as fast lah, basically. Okay. So if you look at Kosan, it's something like this lah. It's quite above the trend line. Now, I don't know whether gloves are really back in the market or not. Okay, it seems like it's always up for a few days and then it comes back down. Okay, it always seems to be like that lah. Okay, you look at top glove from here, it goes up, comes back down, goes up, comes back down. Okay, now break trend line. Supermax is like go up, come down, go up, come down. Okay, Harta used to be the most stable one, but doesn't seem so stable already now. So up down, and Kosan is up down also lah. Okay, so personally, I will always keep gloves as the case. I will always have a look at what are the glove trend. Okay, you need to bear in mind that gloves are a company that hospitals will always need gloves. Clinics will always need gloves. The healthcare profession will always need to use gloves. So basically, it's not really a industry that will die lah. Okay, in my personal opinion, I don't think it's an industry that will die. But at the moment, if I'm not wrong, glove companies are struggling from the oversupply because they ramped up their factories too much during COVID to cater for the demand at that point of time. Okay, if I'm not wrong, Hata's AGM actually mentioned that they are still clearing the oversupply. Okay, when you create your glove using increased price of chemicals and stuff like that during COVID time, and you want to sell it now, you cannot sell it at a COVID price. Okay, you have to sell it at the normal price, the normalized price, which is the average selling price normalization lah. Okay, when you have attempted to earn so much and use so much to make that time, and then now you want to sell it at a lower cost, lower price, you definitely lose or you break even lah. Okay, which is what's happening to gloves. That's why you can see they have some negative earnings and stuff. Okay, this is what I perceive lah. Okay, I'm not so sure. Now, whether gloves can come back or not is a huge question mark. But in my opinion, I don't think they will die lah. Okay, it's like that. It is not possible that they won't have business. Okay, they will always have, because healthcare professionals always use gloves. Okay, you have many kinds of gloves. You have nitrile gloves, you have the sterile gloves, you have normal glove. I think Top Glove even does gloves that housewives use at home, those latex glove. There's so many products. So generally, I don't think it will die. I think it's just a matter of time before gloves become like a value play. Because if you look at the trend, like let's say Top Glove lah. Okay, Top Glove's price pre-pandemic, about here, is 147. That is pre-pandemic. Now is post-pandemic and it hasn't recovered. It's lower than pre-pandemic. Now current price is about 2017. It's just a matter of time lah. It's just a matter of time before it becomes a value play back lah. Okay, and I think for that to come, the earnings must start showing first. Okay, this was really hyped during pandemic time lah. Okay, you can see it's quite short-lived. Okay, it's like something like a short-lived thing lah. Okay, and once the vaccine came in, the vaccine story came, it kind of just went south lah. Okay, so personally, I think glove play, I don't know whether the glove play is or is not there, but you need to keep in mind that eventually people will start to realize like, actually this stock is worth much more than what it is at the moment. Okay, and it is time to, you know, get it back to its value. We just buy and wait, that kind of concept, you know, because it's a value game. Just like if Warren Buffett comes and buy like Oxy, okay, and everyone started thinking Oxy is worth more than what it is at the current price. Okay, so those are what we call like value lah. You know, it will eventually come back to what it's worth. Okay, so that's for glove. Okay, so that'll be all for all my case studies for next week. As a general commentary, other than my introduction, like I mentioned, I believe Malaysian market is pretty bullish. I think it's better than the US sector. I think based on the index, it's also better than the Hang Seng sector. It may be one of the most bullish one now, but I think the Vietnam index is pretty strong as well lah. Okay, so sectors, I think in terms of sector to focus, I don't think tech is really a sector to focus now. I think there's more focus on property and construction. There's more focus on EMS counters, VS, SK Press, Times, and PIE. Okay. What else? Oil and gas counters. Okay, with oil prices going up, I think oil and gas counters are very likely to benefit lah. Okay, in general, those are my I believe those are where the hot money is flowing into at the moment. Okay, just remember it's always a sector play. Okay, at this point of time, if they feel you want to rotate the sector, they will rotate. Okay, so you have to follow where the money goes into. Okay, okay, so before I end, I forgot to put this disclaimer at the start, so I'm going to put it here. So before I end, this video is an educational video. Okay, there is no buy or sell call involved. There is no investment advice involved in this video. Okay, all the stocks that I have shown is a case study for myself. Okay, and I'm sharing it for educational purposes only. So I repeat, there is no buy or sell call in this video. Okay, if you require a buy or sell call, please look for your reminder. Please see your reminder for any buy or sell call advice, or you can look for a financial expert or investment expert to actually give you a buy or sell call. Okay, the entire video here and all the stocks used are for educational purpose only. No buy or sell call. Okay, so that will be all for this week's video. If you like the video, please do remember to subscribe, share, and comment on the YouTube video. And I'll see you again next week. Okay, that will be all. Thank you. Bye bye.